Welcome back to another video of Art of the Outdoors. Well, as always, I want to showcase some of my newest finds, and we will be working on one today. Over the past week, I picked up a couple marketplace finds, including this 1954 Evinrude 7.5 horse fleet twin. Now, all I know on this motor is it pulls over and it feels like it has compression. That's all the seller told me. I haven't even popped the hood open to see what it even looks like. It does pull over like they described, with a fair amount of compression. Also at the same place, I picked up this old Evinrude 7.5. Good old toilet bowl. You may be thinking that I might have spent a fortune on these motors because they're old and cool, but knowing me, I gotta get a deal on everything. I paid $80 for both these motors, or $40 each. The Evinrude does pull over. I haven't looked at that one either, so maybe we'll look at that one running too sometime. I'm really excited about this old Evinrude. I don't have one of these in my collection yet. My collection's continuing to grow. I think I have over 40 outboards now. I do apologize for the lack of uploads lately. I have been just so busy because I'm a full-time college student now. I have many other things that I have to take care of, so I'm still trying to upload when I can. Please stay tuned to me. Take you guys up close and we'll take a look at the outside of this Evinrude. Isn't she just a beauty? See the shift lever still intact in one piece. She is a little dirty and greasy, but nothing I haven't seen before. Now you may be wondering, well, this thing's junk. It's missing the choke knob and the carburetor adjustment knob. I was lucky enough that the seller had a bag of the parts, so I do have the choke knob and a carburetor adjustment knob in there. I think there's one for the 9.5 too. Transom clamps are in good shape. Throttle's in good shape and it moves. I'll have to put a zip tie around this label plate because it's binding some. Good old Fleet Twin Aquasonic. The only thing I'm not too sure about is it looks like someone made a repair here, like the motor got dropped or fell and cracked the tiller handle arm piece. But it's actually pretty solid, so I'm not too sure what happened there. It just adds to the look. Prop's actually in pretty good shape. Alright, now it's time to take a look at this old 71-year-old beauty with her skirt off. Actually, it looks pretty complete in there. The only thing, it does look like there might have been a mouse nest or two in there at one time, but that must have been already removed. Because you see all this corrosion and stuff? Mouse pee will do that. Take the other cover off. Have to remove a couple screws. There she is. There's a look at the other side. Looks like everything's there. Oh, it actually looks like the pull cord's actually made out of cable. I've never seen that before. I guess it works. Carb moves. Well, it does shift. I guess the first thing I need to do is remove these spark plugs and put some oil in the cylinder. Spark plugs don't look horrible. Nope. Spray a little oil in the cylinders. I'll give her a few pulls to work the oil in. Pretty smooth, actually. Now, I think we're going to throw one of these spark plugs back on and check for spark, which I highly doubt there's any because this either has blown up coils or dirty points. Not seeing any signs of spark on the top cylinder, so let's try the bottom. Ooh, spark! Actually looks like good hot spark too on the bottom cylinder. Spray a little bit of WD-40 on the recoil screws. There's 3 screws that need to be removed and they're just flathead. One here, and one here. Let's start. Should be able to lift right off. Sweet. Now it's always a good idea while you have your recoil off to spray it with a little lube. I'm going to take the 7/16 inch socket to remove these three, well, there's supposed to be 3 bolts that are holding this these pawls on for the rewind. But in my case there's only 2 because it looks like one snapped off, or one snapped off when someone had a puller attached to it. So I have to remove this flywheel the old-fashioned way. It'll move. Unfortunately, it does look like both our coils are shot. Anyway, we can pop this nut off and I'll show you the old-fashioned way of removing this flywheel. This should be a 3/4 inch nut. Perfect. I'll be using a chunk of 2x4 with a hammer with a bunch of meat on it. Some of you may critique me for removing the flywheel this way without the puller. I've done this many times. It works just fine. Take your 2x4 under the lip of the flywheel, and then you can see there's the mag plate. Make sure it's not under the mag plate. You don't want to bend that. Do that a couple times, then go to the other side. And there it's off. Works every time. Alright, let's see what kind of monstrosity looking mammal jammal stuff we got going on down here. Yep, she's roached. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and remove these old coils. Pretty much the same procedure all the way from the early 50s to mid 70s. We'll remove these 3 screws on each coil. Always remember the longest screw comes from this middle one. Unscrew the screw on the point so we can take the wire off. Coil should be able to lift up and just pull it out because it'll fall apart like that usually. And then we can just go ahead and discard this. Repeat the same process for this other coil. Alright, so I have both coils removed. Now I'm going to remove the mag plate. And by doing that, it requires this clip right here to come off. Just like that, it just pushes off, and then this little bar here comes up just like so. Now we have to remove 2 more screws to take the magneto off. There's a screw here behind both sets of points. One here and one here. And when those screws are loose, they should be able to just pick right up. Just like that. The only thing that's holding it is the spark wires. I think I'm going to go ahead and replace the plug wires. Unscrew this screw right here that holds the clip for the spark plug wires, and this whole clip should just come off. And one wire came off. Longer wire is held in by this screw and clip right here. And now your plug wire should be able to come up and come off like that, and then just pull it through so it comes out. Now we have our magneto out. We can clean it up and reassemble it. I'm going to unscrew a couple screws on the side of the motor that holds the spark wires on. And these wires can come up, come down. You can tell these old wires are just brittle, and they're probably the originals because they have the old school screw-on connectors for the spark plugs and not the boots. So I'm going to take this and then use these as measurements for new wire. Alright, I got my new wires routed up to the magneto. I'm going to wipe this plate here clean and put some fresh grease on it. I'm going to also clean the bottom of the mag plate and put fresh grease on that too. Got a good fresh layer of grease on there. Now I'm going to route the plug wires back through. Alright, well I was able to put the spark plug wires back through the mag plate. I left some slack. I also put some grease on the cam followers. And now I'm going to gently place this back. Just like that. Now I'm going to try to line up and thread in the mag plate screws. Line up the screws, basically just turn the magneto until the screw catches one of the holes, and then double check to make sure it's right. Alright guys, I was able to put the new coils on. I also cleaned and set the points. Everything checked off there. An important thing to do when you install these coils is make sure your wires are tucked up under there so they don't rub up on the camshaft or any of the points. See how the wires tucked up way in there? I also installed some new spark plug wires, and the mag plate's all greased up. You can see it moves freely. If you're still wondering how to replace these coils, I have other videos out there of installing coils, and I have a separate video of cleaning and setting points. So if you're interested in that, I have other videos out there that'll show you how to do that. I just didn't want to make this video 45 minutes long. I'm going to put the flywheel back on and see what we have for spark. Alright, I'm going to be turning the top of the flywheel with a drill. There's a spark plug here and a spark plug here. Looks like we have good even spark on both cylinders. Alrighty, now that we have spark back in this motor, I think the next right thing to do is fill up a bucket of water and see if it'll fire up. I have a good pressure tank with a 16:1 mix already to go. And I cleaned my fuel connector on the motor so no dirt gets in the carburetor. Pump her up. Looks like the water level should be high enough. Let's see. I have my adjustment knobs at the default setting. The bottom knob, which is your high speed, I have 1 turn out from seated. And the top, I have 1.5 turns out. I have the motor on the start position. We'll pull the choke out and we'll give her a pull. Well, it sounded like it actually ran pretty good. The only thing is I noticed there's a bunch of gas coming out in the carburetor. So we're gonna have to disconnect that and then rebuild the carburetor. Well, that's a step in the right direction. This thing actually fired right up and sounded pretty decent and pumped water. The only thing is there was a bunch of gas pouring out of the front of the carburetor after it started up. So we'll have to do a little rebuild. Alright, to remove the carb on this motor, it looks like I have to remove these 2 screws right here to remove the silencer, and this packing nut for the low speed. Once I get that off, I'll have to unscrew the screw right here for the throttle linkage. That way I can get access to the nuts that hold the carburetor and I can slide it right off. I was able to get the air silencer off along with the adjustment knobs and choke knob. I did have to remove 2 screws for the air silencer that was right here and right here. Next step is I'll unhook the throttle linkages and the gas line, and I'll remove the 2 nuts that hold the carburetor to the engine. There's one here and one here. I was able to get the carburetor all unhooked and unbolted. Now it just slides right off, just like so. Alrighty, in the process of disassembling this carburetor, I removed this glass sediment bowl, and next I'll be removing the 5 screws that hold the carburetor bowl to the top of the carburetor, and we'll open that up and see what we have to look at. Alright, I got this carb opened up. It actually looks pretty clean in there. I'll have to clean it out yet. I notice it has the old cork float and the gaskets that are really brittle and starting to fall apart. And I feel the pieces of cork are starting to get in the jets because this one is super brittle and old. So I'm going to go ahead and replace all those cork gaskets and the float. A while back I purchased this carb rebuild kit from Amazon. It looks like it came with a little bit of everything. Now this kit's pretty universal, from a 3-horse Johnson Evinrude, I believe, up to 18 horse from the 50s to 60s. So I had an extra one of these laying around. Please don't critique me because I bought the cheap Chinese aftermarket carb kit opposed to the OEM. I'm frugal, and this had 4.7 out of 5-star review, and it was able to come the next day I ordered it. So we'll see how it works. I probably won't be replacing everything in the carb, just some of the old seals and gaskets in the float. Well, I was able to get the carb all cleaned up. I installed a couple new gaskets and a new float and the needle. And we'll start to put this baby back together. Alrighty guys, I got the carb all cleaned up and reinstalled. Let's see if it runs. Sounds good. Not leaking any gas. Actually, the idle's good. Try a gear. Let's put it in gear. Back to neutral. And reverse. Well guys, this thing actually runs pretty dang good. I think the next step is I'll put the hood on it and run it for a bit, and then we'll conclude the video. Hood fitted back on, and let's see what it sounds like with the hood on. That's power. Staying nice and cool. Honestly, I'm really surprised with how well this thing runs. It's been sitting for years, and with a little bit of maintenance, a few new parts, it's up and running again. I might have close to 2 hours of my own time into this motor by the time I change the gear lube. I initially purchased this motor for $40. I put $20 worth of coils in, and I bought the carb rebuild kit for $15, but I didn't use everything in it. Overall, I have less than $75 into this motor, and it'll be a nice add-on to the collection. Hopefully we can get this one out on a boat soon before winter. Hopefully this video wasn't too long for you guys. Thanks for staying tuned. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.